Renewable energy has been discussed for many years, but has recently gained particular importance due to the current shortages in the gas and oil supply. Renewable energies are solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, and biomass energy. This video is about two of them. The conversion of sunlight into electricity, so-called photovoltaics, and wind energy, be it offshore, which means located on the sea, or onshore, which means located on land. We will cover three topics. First, how many photovoltaic systems and wind turbines do we need in Europe to meet our energy demands? Second, which raw materials do we need for this shift, and from where do they come? Third, how can we ensure that the procurement of these raw materials does not lead to serious environmental damage and social problems in the countries of their origin? This is what we've been researching in the EU project Resourcing for the past 2 years. We created a global stakeholder platform for businesses, policymakers, researchers, and NGOs, where we developed a shared understanding of what is understood by responsibility and sustainability in mineral value chains. Based on these vast experiences, we have effective solutions to offer. Europe's energy supply is massively dependent on imports due to the high share of non-renewable energy sources. Every year, Europe imports oil, gas, and coal for about $300 billion. This is equivalent to €430 per European citizen. In 2022, Europe's dependency on energy imports became well known to the general public because of the gas crisis, as a consequence of Russia's war against the Ukraine. In addition, we have to consider that 75% of the EU's greenhouse gas emissions are caused by the production and use of energy. A shift to renewable energy would therefore increase Europe's autonomy, reduce costs of imports, and massively reduce climate impacts. At the moment, only 13% of EU's energy consumption is covered by renewable sources, 5% by hydropower, 5% by wind power, and less than 3% by photovoltaics. Therefore, a dramatic increase of photovoltaics and wind power is necessary now and cannot wait until 2040 or 2030. We need to urgently create energy infrastructure to become less dependent on energy imports. However, is this possible? Let us try a brief estimation. If we want to reach the EU's target of 40% renewable energy by 2030, we need 32 gigawatts of new wind farms and 40 to 50 gigawatts of additional photovoltaic capacity every year. A single onshore wind turbine has an average capacity of 4 megawatts. If we take technical progress and higher outputs into account, we still need to build about 7,000 additional wind turbines every year throughout the EU. The required area for additional photovoltaic capacity corresponds to about 7,000 soccer fields per year. Apart from land consumption and possible conflicts regarding the location of wind turbines, there is another aspect we have to keep in mind: the need for raw materials, such as copper, rare earth elements, and silicon. These raw materials have to be imported to the EU and can cause damage to the environment and health of the local population in the countries where they are extracted. Therefore, could the transition to renewable energy have unintended negative consequences that we perhaps underestimate? Michael Tost, you are Professor for Sustainable Mining Technology at Montan-Universität Leoben and partner in the Resourcing project. Which raw materials does it take to manufacture a wind turbine?
An average wind turbine is about 150 meters tall and consists of a concrete base, steel tower, rotor blades and a generator. So for a single wind turbine, approximately 4.7 tons of copper and 2 tons of rare earth elements are needed, along with about 10 other minerals and metals. Until 2030, we will need 420,000 tons of copper and 180,000 tons of rare earth elements only for the wind turbine itself, and not considering necessary infrastructure in order to reach our targets. These raw materials are mainly imported from South America in the case of copper and China in the case of rare earth elements.
And what raw materials are needed to manufacture a photovoltaic system?
Photovoltaic systems can be mounted on the roof of a house or be installed as part of a solar farm. We currently need 1.2 kilograms of silicon and 1.4 kilograms of copper for an average solar panel. To reach our targets, we will need, for example, 370,000 tons of silicon for solar panels per year by 2050. This corresponds to a 12-fold increase of our silicon imports compared to the year 2018.
So we need enormous quantities of copper, silicon and rare earth elements. What are the effects of mining these raw materials in the countries of their origin?
We currently import silicon mainly from China, Brazil and Russia. China, the worldwide largest supplier, accounts for 80% of global supply. The Xinjiang region in China alone accounts for approximately 45%. In this region, evidence of forced labor of ethnic minorities has been found. When it comes to copper mining and processing, this is a very water-intensive process and is largely conducted in one of the driest regions on Earth, the Atacama Desert. The use of groundwater for these processes can therefore have detrimental effects on the neighboring communities and the environment.
So let us summarize briefly. To switch to renewable energy, we need raw materials. The extraction of these raw materials is currently causing negative impacts on the environment and people in countries outside Europe. So what we need is to bring together existing knowledge from key stakeholder groups and regions, to identify current problems and to highlight how to address them. This is exactly what we've done in the resourcing project. We developed a roadmap outlining the way forward to 2050 to achieve the responsible sourcing of raw materials. Through this project, it has become clear that significant changes in procurement, production and energy consumption are needed now and over the next 2 decades. This roadmap provides recommendations for EU policymakers, international industry and civil society. It addresses 3 raw materials: copper, rare earth elements and silicon, 2 technologies, wind and photovoltaics, and 3 supply chain stages: mining, manufacturing and recycling. Marie-Therese Kügel, you are working at the Chair of Mining Engineering and Mineral Economics at Montan-Universität Leoben. You wrote a State of Play report on the renewable energy sector and also played a leading role in the development of this roadmap. So, what is the resourcing roadmap for photovoltaics and wind energy about?
Thank you, Andre. The roadmap provides recommendations for EU policymakers, international industry, civil society organizations, research and academia. It shows how together we can achieve responsible sourcing and what steps are key.
What are the benefits for policymakers?
A more rapid expansion of renewable energy capacity and a decrease in energy intensity will help achieve the targets of the Paris Agreement and EU Green Deal. We will be able to reduce our dependency on imports by capacity building in mining, manufacturing, recycling and the necessary infrastructure. This will also create numerous new jobs in Europe.
What are the benefits for the business sector?
The business sector in general and individual companies in particular will safeguard their social license to operate through improved collaboration with and support of local communities. They benefit from a secure supply of sustainable materials that fulfill the requirements of EU and national supply chain due diligence legislation. And by harmonizing sustainability criteria and using a combined database for supplier assessment a level playing field is created and the administrative burden reduced.
What are benefits for citizens and civil society?
Transparency and available, understandable information allows civil society organizations to support auditing and policy processes, and clients to make informed buying decisions. Civil society benefits from better involvement in decision-making processes and the right to co-determination, as well as improved protection of human rights defenders and support of capacity building by governments.
This roadmap is a key outcome of the resourcing project, and its implementation is crucial to achieve responsible sourcing and sustainable value chains in the renewable energy sector. However, this is only the first step. We also developed the roadmap for the mobility sector, where we're focusing on the value of lithium-ion batteries, which are installed in electric cars. This roadmap has already been published, and soon we will record another video like this one on that topic. Currently we're working on a third roadmap, in this case for the electronics sector, which will cover how to reduce the material and energy throughput that goes into consumption and production. All three roadmaps will serve as an input to develop a globally accepted approach for responsible sourcing in the mineral raw material supply chain. If you're interested in our roadmaps or in our conferences and webinars, visit our website, resourcing.eu.